Sacred ones, have you ever felt like your life was marked by trials that seemed almost too much to bear? Perhaps you've faced betrayal, loss, or challenges that tested your very core. But through it all, something inside you refused to give up. A spark of hope, a whisper that said, you were made for more. Let me tell you about Sarah. She grew up in an environment where cruelty masked itself as discipline. Every mistake was punished, every smile was stolen, and love felt conditional. But through the darkness, Sarah discovered her inner light. She embraced forgiveness, let go of bitterness, and transformed her pain into a beacon of hope for others. Sarah's story teaches us that even in the face of evil, the sacred ones like you, sacred tales, can rise above and bring light to the darkest corners. Now imagine those dark corners in a different context. What if the very people who were meant to guide and protect became the embodiment of that darkness? Today we're diving into the chilling stories of the most evil nuns to ever walk the earth. These are tales of betrayal, manipulation, and unimaginable cruelty committed by individuals who had sworn to uphold the highest spiritual principles. Stay with me, Sacred Tales, because these stories hold lessons that go beyond the surface. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel. Join this community of sacred tales as we uncover the truths that help us grow, reflect, and shine our light in the world. 1. Sister Mary's Reign of Terror. Sister Mary, a name whispered in fear, a specter of the past that still chills the hearts of those who remember. In the early 1900s, her orphanage was meant to be a sanctuary for children without families, a place where safety and solace should have replaced the pain of loss. Yet, for the orphans under her care, it was anything but. Survivors recount the grim reality, beatings so severe they left scars, both physical and emotional. Children were starved for the smallest infractions, reduced to pleading for scraps of bread. Sister Mary's rule was not one of care but of fear, and her name became synonymous with suffering. What makes Sister Mary's story particularly unsettling is her ability to hide her malice behind a mask of devout piety. She led prayers with the fervor of a saint, her voice trembling with emotion as she recited scriptures about love, compassion, and the innocence of children. Her outward appearance was a paradox, rosary beads clutched tightly in hands that would later deliver blows. She embodied the wolf in sheep's clothing, a sobering reminder that evil often cloaks itself in righteousness. Her actions expose a harrowing truth. Appearances can be deceiving. In a world where outward displays of virtue can hide inner darkness, Sister Mary's duality serves as a call for discernment. It's easy to be swayed by eloquent words or religious rituals, but true character lies in actions. While her prayers spoke of love, her hands wrought harm, and her smile concealed a cruelty that left indelible marks on young lives. The orphanage under Sister Mary's rule stands as a grim testament to unchecked authority. Back then, societal norms often placed unquestioned trust in religious figures, granting them power without accountability. This allowed individuals like Sister Mary to perpetuate their cruelty in the shadows, shielded by their positions. Her story is a haunting reminder of the importance of vigilance, even toward those who seem beyond reproach. Trust must be earned, not assumed. For us, Earth Angels, Sister Mary's legacy is a lesson in responsibility. It's not enough to turn a blind eye to injustice, hoping someone else will act. Her story challenges us to speak up, to challenge authority when it veers into abuse, and to ensure the most vulnerable among us are protected. It's a reminder that discernment isn't just a spiritual gift, it's a moral imperative. But amid the darkness of Sister Mary's tale, there is also hope. Many of her surviving victims grew into resilient adults who told their stories, ensuring that the horrors they endured were not forgotten. Their courage shines as a beacon, proving that even the deepest wounds can birth strength and advocacy for change. As we reflect on this chilling chapter, let it ignite a fire within us to stand against injustice wherever it lurks. Sister Mary's story is not just a relic of the past, but a warning for the present. Appearances may deceive, but truth always finds a voice. Let us be that voice for the voiceless, protectors of the innocent, and champions of compassion in a world that desperately needs it, too. The blood-stained legacy of Sister Marguerite in the shadowy corridors of a 17th century French convent, a chilling tale unfolded, one that continues to serve as a cautionary reminder about the corrupting nature of unchecked. Sister Marguerite, a woman entrusted with the spiritual guidance of her fellow nuns, became a figure both revered and feared. Though outwardly pious, her actions revealed a sinister undercurrent, turning a sanctuary of faith into a theater of manipulation and treachery. A position of influence corrupted Sister Marguerite's role within the convent, granted her immense spiritual authority. In an era when religious institutions wielded significant power, the Mother Superior was seen as a vessel of divine wisdom and guidance. Yet Marguerite used this influence not for the spiritual upliftment of her charges, but to control and dominate. Those who questioned her methods or motives found themselves mysteriously silenced, some allegedly meeting untimely and suspicious ends. Rumors swirled among the surviving nuns, hushed whispers of dark rituals conducted under the cover of night. Marguerite was said to have blended her extensive knowledge of religious rites with forbidden practices, transforming what should have been sacred into something malevolent. The line between divine worship and blasphemous intent blurred, casting an ominous shadow over the convent. The Church's investigation as tales of Marguerite's deeds reached the Church's hierarchy. An investigation was launched. What they discovered was both shocking and heartbreaking. Evidence of manipulation, psychological torment, and a series of unexplained deaths that could no longer be ignored. Accounts from surviving nuns painted a grim picture of a woman consumed by her own ambitions, willing to sacrifice her sisters' lives to maintain her grip on power. The Church's inquiry not only exposed Marguerite's crimes, but also revealed the devastating impact of her actions on the spiritual health of the convent: trust, faith, and sisterhood. All core tenets of their communal life had been corroded by fear and suspicion. The spiritual lesson for today's Sister Marguerite's story is not merely a historical curiosity. It is a profound lesson for modern earth angels, spiritual leaders, and seekers of divine wisdom. Her tale underscores a timeless truth. Power, especially spiritual power, must be wielded with the utmost humility and integrity. The moment it becomes a tool for personal gain or control, it transforms into a destructive force, harming not only others but also the wielder's own soul. As spiritual beings, our influence carries the potential to heal, inspire, and uplift. Whether guiding others through faith, mentoring in personal growth, or simply offering a kind word, our actions should always reflect compassion and selflessness. Sister Marguerite's descent into darkness serves as a stark warning of the consequences of neglecting these principles. Let her tale ignite within us a commitment to use our gifts responsibly. In every word, thought, and deed, let us strive to be vessels of love and light, ensuring that our influence heals rather than harms. Power without humility leads to ruin. Humility paired with power fosters true transformation. Sister Marguerite's legacy is a somber reminder that even in the pursuit of the divine, one can stray. Let us walk the path of faith with vigilance, ensuring that our steps lead not into shadow but toward the light. 3. Sister Agnes. The silent tormentor, the story of Sister Agnes and the Magdalene laundries in Ireland, serves as a haunting reminder of the dark chapters in history where societal norms justified unspeakable cruelty. These laundries, operating from the late 18th to the 20th century, were cloaked under the guise of moral reform but were, in truth, institutions of systemic abuse and exploitation. Women sent there were often accused of moral failings, which could range from unwed pregnancy to simply being deemed disobedient or problematic. Their so-called transgressions were often trivial, yet their punishment was severe and inhumane. Sister Agnes epitomized this cruelty. Survivors of these institutions describe her as a figure who wielded power, not just through physical punishment, but through an unnerving, calculated silence. She would enforce her authority with a cold, wordless demeanor, making her presence a constant source of fear. Her punishments, often harsh and devoid of compassion, included forced isolation in cramped, dark spaces and physical abuse meant to break both body and spirit. This silence, the deliberate withholding of speech, was her most chilling tool. It communicated a complete disregard for the humanity of those under her care, reducing them to mere objects of labor and discipline. The silence of Sister Agnes highlights a sinister truth about the absence of words. Silence can be as oppressive as overt cruelty. It dehumanizes isolates and amplifies the suffering of the oppressed. In these laundries, the absence of dialogue or acknowledgement made the women feel invisible and unworthy of basic human connection, compounding their trauma. But this story is not just a recounting of history. It carries a profound lesson for the present. As earth angels, as individuals seeking to make the world a kinder and more compassionate place, we are reminded of the importance of our voice. Silence in the face of injustice, whether intentional or unintentional, can be complicit. It allows cruelty to thrive unchecked and reinforces the suffering of those who feel voiceless. Sister Agnes serves as a stark contrast to what we should aspire to be. Her silence was a weapon, but our voices can be tools of healing, advocacy, and change. Speaking out against wrongs, no matter how small or large, disrupts the cycle of oppression. Every time we raise our voices for those who cannot, we affirm their humanity, restore their dignity, and challenge systems of abuse. Today, the Magdalene laundries are a scar on Ireland's collective conscience, with survivors finally being acknowledged and compensated for the horrors they endured. Their stories serve as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of speaking out. They remind us that silence, like that of Sister Agnes, should never prevail over truth and compassion. Let this tale inspire us to embrace our voices and speak with courage and conviction. Whether standing against societal injustices or supporting those in need, remember that silence, though easy, is never neutral. It's in our words, actions, and unwavering commitment to justice that we can make the greatest difference. Let us pledge to never be silent in the face of suffering, for our voices have the power to bring light where darkness once reigned. 4. The twisted leadership of Sister Isabella. In the heart of 18th century Spain, Sister Isabella held dominion over a convent that should have been a haven of peace and piety. Instead, it became a fortress of greed under her oppressive rule. Unlike the nurturing leaders we associate with spiritual guidance, Sister Isabella turned her religious office into a tool for personal gain. Her iron-fisted governance was marked by exploitation, as she imposed exorbitant tithes on the local community, draining them of resources they could barely afford to part with. Her tactics weren't subtle. Those who could not comply with her demands faced severe consequences, including public humiliation. Villagers were paraded through the streets, shamed for their inability to pay what she claimed was owed to the convent. For the poorest, this humiliation was a fate worse than their financial struggles. Sister Isabella wielded her power without compassion, ensuring that her greed became a burden for everyone in her path. The brave villager who sparked a revolution, the turning point came when one courageous villager decided enough was enough. This individual, whose name has been lost to history, gathered evidence of Sister Isabella's misdeeds and began spreading the truth among the oppressed townsfolk. Whispering stories of stolen wealth and unjust punishments grew into loud cries for justice. What began as murmurs of dissent transformed into a movement as the villagers banded together, united by a shared determination to end their suffering. Armed with collective outrage and a sense of justice, the villagers confronted Sister Isabella. Their rebellion was not marked by violence but by the undeniable power of unity and truth. Faced with an uprising she could not control, Sister Isabella was removed from her position and expelled from the convent. Her reign of tyranny had come to an end, not through the actions of one, but through the strength of many. The consequences of greed and the strength of unity. Sister Isabella's downfall serves as a vivid reminder of the destructive nature of greed. Her exploitation alienated her from the very people she was meant to serve. She amassed in wealth. She lost in trust and respect, proving that material gains can never substitute for the bonds of community and empathy. This story also highlights the transformative power of collective action. The villagers, who had long suffered in silence, discovered their strength by coming together. It was their unity that dismantled a system of exploitation and reclaimed their dignity. In an era where tyranny often seemed unshakable, their rebellion stands as a testament to the courage of ordinary people and the extraordinary results of solidarity. For today's sacred ones, those who walk this world as beacons of love, justice, and compassion. Sister Isabella's story offers both a cautionary tale and a call to action. Greed and exploitation can exist in any form, but so can courage and unity. May we all find the strength to stand together against oppression, just as those villagers did centuries ago. Whether in small acts of kindness or large movements for change, our collective light has the power to dispel even the darkest shadows. Let this tale inspire us to remain vigilant and compassionate, ensuring that our actions uplift rather than oppress. For when we unite against injustice, we echo the timeless truth. Together, we are unstoppable. 5. Sister Catherine. A betrayer of trust in the 1960s, Sister Catherine held a position of authority and influence as a teacher at a Catholic school in the United States. To her students, she was more than an educator. She represented trust, guidance, and a bridge to spiritual values. However, behind the facade of her sacred vocation, she wielded her authority to manipulate and instill fear in the very children she was meant to uplift. Sister Catherine's emotional and psychological abuse created a dark undercurrent in the lives of her students, leaving invisible scars that many carried well into adulthood. Her methods were subtle yet profoundly damaging. She didn't rely on physical punishment, but on psychological control, exploiting her students' innocence and their reverence for her position. The betrayal was deeply unsettling because it came from someone cloaked in the garments of moral authority. This duality, the outward representation of virtue and the inner reality of cruelty, magnifies the trauma experienced by her victims. The story of Sister Catherine is not just an account of individual wrongdoing. It's a broader commentary on the devastating consequences of betrayal by those in positions of trust, children in particular, are highly impressionable, looking to adults for safety, encouragement, and guidance. When that trust is shattered, it can lead to a lifetime of self-doubt, fear, and a struggle to rebuild a sense of security. For us today, this story serves as a powerful reminder of the sacred duty we hold as leaders, mentors, and caregivers. Trust is a delicate gift, not a right, and those who bestow it upon us do so with vulnerability and hope. As sacred ones, individuals committed to kindness, integrity, and spiritual alignment, it is our calling to be guardians of trust. In order to ensure that our influence is always a source of light and never shadow, we must nurture, protect, and uplift those who look to us for guidance. Let Sister Catherine's story inspire vigilance in our own lives. Let us create environments where love and encouragement prevail, where fear has no foothold, and where trust blossoms into resilience and strength. For in doing so, we not only heal the wounds of the past, but build a future where trust is a bridge to growth and not a gateway to betrayal. The lessons we carry forward, sacred ones, these stories may be dark, but they are not without purpose. They remind us of the human capacity for both good and evil, and the importance of choosing light. Just as Sarah chose to transform her pain into purpose, we too can rise above the darkness we encounter. How can I be a beacon of hope in a world that sometimes feels overshadowed by darkness? Remember, every act of kindness, every moment of integrity, and every choice to love instead of hate ripples out into eternity. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Join this community of sacred ones as we continue to uncover stories that inspire, challenge, and transform. Having said this,